Well, and it's human psychology to want to kind of be in the group, right?
Yeah.
You know? And so if you're not telling people like, you should be fucking into this, then they're kind of like, do I trust myself? Is everybody else on board for this?
Hello and welcome to Start the Beat with Sykes. My name is Sykes and this is my podcast. Before we get started, I just wanted to take a quick moment to thank everyone who checked out the last episode. If you're one of those people, thanks so much for being here. Hope you enjoyed the conversation. But for those of you out there who are new to the show, welcome. Please feel free to make yourselves at home. And as always, there's beer and soda in the fridge. Oh my God. Does anybody need a beer or soda? I didn't ask. Are we okay?
I'll get a soda if that's all right.
You're going to make him get up.
I'll take a soda. Since you're up, I'll take a soda as well. Thank you.
Oh, that's fine. Why? Because he mentioned updating his drops or whatever. I'm like, I would highly suggest the. There you go.
Yeah.
Oh, the losing horns.
Yeah.
There it is.
Product placement does have to be turned away, kind of.
Okay. So I feel like that intro was really good and I'm just going to leave it.
Yeah.
You know, so anyways, I'm sitting here today with 3/3 of rock and rollin', punk rockin', whatever you want to call it, grungin', living life, chillin', killin', blood spillin', Action Camp. Make some noise for the internet, my friends. So for those of you that do not know Action Camp, why don't we do a quick little roundtable introduction starting with Joe?
I'm Joe Tarowski and I play the drums.
Boom, boom, boom.
I'm Maura Jacob and I'm the lead vocalist and bass player.
Boom, boom, boom.
I'm Banked Alexander and I play guitar.
Excellent!
There we go.
Cool. All right. So how long has Action Camp been a band? Let's just get the bullshit questions out of the way real quick.
14 years.
Maybe 14 years
on the 10th.
On the 10th, yeah.
Wow, that's a long time.
That's a very long time.
It's a very long time.
Yeah.
I think I just turned 21 when we started. Yeah. So now you can guess how old I am, but that's fine.
Yeah.
It's all good. Yeah.
But yeah, so it's weird. The running joke has always been, it started as just the two of us, Ben and myself, and the running joke is that he's my longest relationship I've ever had, but it is not romantic in any way. For all of you out there who think that we're either siblings or married, that's not true.
Sure.
So, and Joe joined us 4 years ago.
Yeah.
At this point,
Yeah.
I believe. Yep.
Super cool.
Your odds in the or your percentage of the legacy of the band like grows.
Yeah.
You're like a solid third in of the band.
So why did it take you a decade to decide to abandon Backtracks and go with a live drummer?
Well, we technically had two drummers before.
Oh, really?
Very briefly.
Super briefly.
But it was partially maybe personality conflicts, but also we moved to Pittsburgh from Boston. And we were the ones willing to move. And it's much easier to tour with just two people. Let's hop in our, what was it? What was the first car? The Kia Soul.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, Kia Soul. I mean, we used to get Zip cars. We tour with Zip cars.
In
so just not
New England, where everything is very close to one another.
Yeah.
Not so much once we were here. But yeah, Zip cars when they were first a thing or whatever. So, yeah.
Hell yeah. So now we have some new music coming out a whole 14 years later. Let's talk a bit about that because I think that's why we're here today, to promo the new shit. What's shaking?
It's true. What do you want to?
Well, we've got a single, because this is a leap year, of course. So we're taking advantage of that extra day at the end of this month.
We weren't going to have time this year otherwise.
Yes. We have to wait another 4 years for this single to come out.
Yeah.
It will be out on the 29th, concurrently with our Skillshare event that is sort of taking place of a more conventional like release show where bands get up and play. Instead, we're going to bring some folks together and sort of share what we do and kind of a conference almost, I guess.
Sort of.
Yeah. Well, for different folks that turn up with different skills and talk about what they do. I don't know if we can like say who's going to be there yet, but there'll be folks talking about like MIDI and
this guy over here.
It's been announced, hasn't it?
It has, yeah.
So we could talk about it.
Okay.
I appreciate your you know, trying to be aware of like when's released when and like all that stuff. But yeah, it's out in the world.
I'm still new. So.
That's only going to work for so long, Joe. 4 years.
4 years, and you can vote me out now.
No,
Send you off to kindergarten next year.
We're excited to do the release. The release is actually sort of inspired by our name. So Action Camp came about, like most band names, as like a placeholder that then became the name. But when we started in Boston, I was doing a lot more activism, anarchist shit.
Boston type shit.
Yeah, Boston type shit, you know. And so my friends and I would put together action camps that were about sharing skills, but they were, you know, things like how do you make wheat paste and like, you know, shit like that. So
Sick.
But anyway, so we thought, hey, we'll do something more in the vein of what we do now, which is music oriented. But what's nice about Skillshares is that even though we're going to have a number of people like yourself, as well as like Allison from Of Music in Mind, or I always flip them in my brain.
Kaivos.
And all that stuff. It's also sort of about like we all have knowledge, we all have experience. And so, you know, we'll have folks kind of lead that conversation. But the idea is that we'll all gain something by people who attend, as well as the people who are kind of like the special guests, you know. So because even novices will end up having unique experiences here in the scene that I don't know anything about, or like playing venues I've never played, or, you know, so everyone has something worthy of contributing. And I'm excited at the idea of bringing a lot of different people together in the room so that we can kind of just compare notes in a way, you know?
Yeah.
You'd love to do it at a show, but then it never really like works out because you always have 20 different things you're supposed to be doing at a show.
Yeah.
And so this is sort of a much more relaxed environment in which to kind of do that talking shop, I guess, that kind of thing. So
yeah, something I've been talking about on the show a lot is the purpose of shows and why people have shows. And, you know, are you having the show for yourself to just flex your ego on stage, or do you actually give a shit about putting together an event for the community and getting people to come out?
Yeah,
you know, it's like, you know, if you're dragging everybody to, you know, Brillo Box to watch your band practice, like that's fine, but it's not like the most effective in the long term. So it's cool to be a part of something like this, or just cool that you're doing it at all, because in some aspects it's a lot simpler than playing a show.
Right.
And it's going to be a lot more effective, and it's more unique. There's a different reason for people to come out and participate in it, instead of just like, oh, well, I can go out and watch people play music, or I could be working on my own stuff. It's like, well, how about I could go learn some skills or just network a bit?
Yeah.
It's neat.
Exactly. And we figured, you know, we're still having it at the Moose. We're still having it in a comfortable environment for everyone. And at the end of it, you're still going to be able to hear some of the new music. We're going to do it listening party style. So over the loud speakers and everything.
You should get some idiot to put on like one of those dead mouse masks and like DJ just your track. That's it.
Yep. And then just on repeat until everybody leaves.
And I think part of us getting older as a band, less as people, we've just been doing this for so long that putting a purpose to shows makes more and more sense every year. And it's kind of become like February, because it's like the anniversary of the band starting. Almost every February now, we kind of do some special show thing. Like we did the Death Disc thing last year, which we had talked about forever, of covering a bunch of 50s and 60s teen death anthems and making them doom songs. Because Leader of the Pack with like stoner metal guitars is like pretty great.
Pretty fun. And the two of you affecting New York accents to start the whole thing is also very fun. So you should check that out.
I just like relating that to people, so I get to say like is that Jimmy's ring you're wearing? Like, I just love saying wearing. It's so much fun.
Yeah.
With the band now, obviously, you know, we are a decade and a fair amount of change. And, you know, we're talking about age, like as the band grows, and I guess as we grow, like you want to find better reasons to do shows and things like that. But like stripping it back even a layer, like the reason to even still be in a band, like why still do this? Why still play drums or play bass or play guitar and turn your fucking house into a production? Like, why are we still doing this shit?
Yeah, Ben just lives in a production studio,
what is
essentially.
Like what would be your reason, Ben, for this lifestyle?
It's kind of a joke, but I honestly think there is some amount of this that is just a mental illness. Like in the sense that I am so compelled to create and make music that I don't think I can do much else. And financially, I'm so invested in it too. It's like it's just like it's a money pit that I'm throwing money into. It's like one of these days this is gonna pay off.
Sure. It's like
or I'll die. It'll be like one or the other.
It's like a mild case of that.
It's a standoff between you and the whole.
A mild case of that insanity definition of doing the same thing over and over again without it working.
Yeah,
but I suppose it's whatever your definition of working and not working is.
It's still a thing this far on, and with Joe joining the band, it almost reset and felt like a new band. So it's like it's still something I get so much out of that. I think if I stopped feeling that, we would stop, but I don't. It's never really had that lull yet.
Yeah.
So it doesn't feel like a chore ever. So
what about you, Mara?
Oh, geez. Joe?
Well, it sounds like maybe fatalistic or something, but music's the only thing I'm good at. It really, and that goes back to like being in school, and I was always very tall as a child. People say, you must be so good at sports and basketball. And I was always horrible at it. And I didn't have I would go to practice, and it's like, I don't feel like putting in the energy to like learn how to play basketball and do well at it. I'm not that passionate about it, but I always had a way with drums, even when I was a kid. Like I had a toy drum kit and I loved it. And
Silver Steel,
that's right. I had a silver, like for Christmas '84, I got this little Ohio Art Silver Steel kit, and I demolished it in like 6 months probably. My parents had to throw it out, like a little Keith Moon. And so I'll be 40 this year. So I'm asking this question a lot of myself, like, why do I still do this? And it's like, I don't know. I don't think there's anything else I'd rather be doing, especially joining this band, because they're already very disciplined in terms of their approach to like booking shows for a reason and recording and making sure that the recordings go out exactly how everybody wants it to be. And there's no, everything happens in this band for a reason. So at this age, playing with Action Camp's been a real positive. And like Ben said, I don't ever see a point where I'm just going to ever want to give up music, because it's been with me my whole life. So there's a real deep philosophical answer,
I think that it seems like there's a really healthy dynamic with this band. And I find that makes it a lot easier if there isn't some unnecessary drama or just somebody not pulling their weight. If it's a matter where it's easy, it's fun, you're always doing different things. If something gets a little like, well, it's like, let's do this little Action Camp event and just keeping it consistent between like being able to record stuff, do fun little events, fun little video stuff. I know that you've been doing, I've been seeing, and keep yourselves occupied. Mari, you still haven't answered my goddamn question.
I'm going to. I wasn't going to avoid it entirely. I just kind of wanted to hear Joe's answer first. Let's see. Well, an aspect of why I'm still doing it, I guess, is that I see it as so multifaceted. I mean, I really love kind of the math problem that is being a musician, in the sense of like, it's not just about the instrumentation. I also write the majority of our lyrics. My background is in voice. And so I think a lot about different dimensions in how that can be delivered or written. And then there's all of the business side of it, which shows, for as fun as they are, also business, also a job. And so that's all been really interesting and a challenge. I've been a performer since I was a really little kid. I would say that that's always been the main motivator for doing any of the other things, writing, recording, anything else, is that I just want to go out and perform.
Yeah.
Which, I don't think of myself as a flashy personality in my social life, but I think that that's also
you have a flashy coat.
I know.
Hoodie.
I still enjoy. I mean, I have all my bracelets.
Everyone shout out to the Black Hoodie Gang right now, by the way.
I was really wondering, would the uniform persist? Because we always wear a lot of black for shows too. And I was like, I bet you it's going to happen for this too. Yeah. Well, yeah. And even the glitteriness is on brand. I got to stick out. I'm the singer or whatever. So, but yeah, I'm not attention seeking in my day-to-day life. But that performer side of me is always there. And it is really hard to kind of pinpoint why per se, but music has always been, I mean, I have a musical family, and then, not to get like real deep or whatever, but I went to Catholic school as a kid, and I am not Catholic. And so one of the main things I could do every Friday in church was be in the choir. And so that kind of became like my first intro into learning how to read music and to perform regularly and to kind of feel a part of things, was to do that in church. And so, and I met a lot of vocalists, but musicians in general, that all started in church in one way or another, which is also interesting. And everyone's relationship to it is really different. And that's my relationship to it, is that was sort of my way of being able to be a part of things and to like learn more about that side of my life that wasn't really my home life. It was only there, you know. So it started things, I guess, but it was, I hope that helps.
Definitely. It's just been in you for a long time. It seems like that's the common thread again with the three of you, just like growing up with music. We're all children of the 80s/90s, kind of teenagers of the 90s, children of the 80s, however you want to put it. But one thing that you had just touched on briefly, Mara, was the business side of things, which none of us grew up wanting to do accounting and all of these things like that.
Definitely not.
Regardless, even if you're just a band that's like, you know, tri-state here and there, playing shows, whatever, like you still gotta take it kind of seriously in order for it to be seriously from a business perspective, in order for it to be functional.
Right.
So how have you all adapted in your personal lives to the business aspect of music and not had it like ruin you?
Well, we Skillshare. We do split up sort of, everybody has their area. Like I'm a copy editor by trade, so I will compose / edit a lot of like our promotional materials, like any of the materials that are online for this show, like on our Facebook for the Skillshare. I kind of made sure there were no typos and things like that. That's just one thing, but
also that it's English. I mean, I feel like the way they start are not complete sentences. You finish those out.
I try. I do my best. I should. But I mean, that's like the one thing that I do when it comes to like the more non-musical side. And of course, Ben done so much with the video and of course just the production of the music. And I mean, you can all claim what you want to do. I won't speak for you, but
I do a lot of the visuals. Yes. That's not been covered yet. And we all do some of the engineering for recording and things like that. I will say this has all been a learning process. We all get along fairly well and have learned how to, you know, share responsibilities and all those sorts of things. But it hasn't always been that way. And I'm proud of us.
You're still human beings.
Well, right. But I'm also proud of us for getting to where we are. Because sometimes I think about what things were like 4, 10, however many years ago.
Sure.
And it is not that. And there were times where we're talking about the money pit. I was like, the pit is going to eat me. Yeah. I don't have anything left to give to this because I did not plan. And this is precarious, I guess.
Sure.
But yeah, we've gotten a lot better over time. And I think Ben would agree that one of the big things we talk about in terms of what makes it work is really just communication. So
yeah, I feel like early on we really had the advantage of, because we were primarily a duo, there was no, what I felt in other bands is you can sometimes have a bit of a clickiness. Like your bass player and your drummer might get along or they have something that they bond over or whatever. And growing up, and just growing up as like a teenager in bands, like you don't communicate, but when you're in a duo, like there's kind of no you don't have a choice. Like you have to talk to each other when you're on tour. You both have to sit in the front seat. You have to talk to the driver because they can't fall asleep and like whatever. So we had like a really healthy thing with that, and then when we added Joe in, it like kind of it just worked its way out better. It's kind of stretched out to this 3-way.
He's like fire. She's like ice.
Yeah,
and I'm lukewarm water.
Yeah, yeah. There's a very I've said this to.
I do think it's been helpful to have a third member, even as a buffer sometimes.
Yeah, I've said this to Moore's face before too, but I'm gonna make her blush maybe, but like I got
when you preface something as I've said this to your face, that makes me feel real good about whatever's about to happen next.
No, but like honestly, because I was just home and was catching up with the friends and was saying like honestly the most I've gotten out of this band was just like learning how to communicate, like specifically with the opposite sex, but also just in general. And I owe that like completely to more of just like, no, it's been years of like, oh no, I know how to talk to like to actually talk to someone and like consider feelings and
primarily and because a lot of times I'm like, I can't keep working until we talk about this. Like I refuse.
Right. Which is honestly good. Like we have a super healthy relationship as a band, like, but we still like occasionally scream at each other and have arguments or whatever. It's like, it's healthy.
You're still human.
Well, just today somebody posted on the internet the whole Beatles when they were breaking up in the studio. It was like a whole like hour-long thing of like have them arguing, and I was just like, well, that's just band practice. Like, and I mean, and I've been in other projects where it's like an unhealthy amount of just but no, I think you don't enter into a band relationship, which it's a creative. You put your time into something with other people, you have that band relationship, and you're going to disagree. And you have to learn how to disagree.
I fully believe, and this is nothing against like anybody that I've ever been with or am with romantically. Hi, Stacy. But there's just something with like making music with people where like the amount of passion that's going into it, while it may not be romantic, it's just like there's so much emotion that I put into like what I do musically, that like when you're doing that with other people and like other people are trying to bring in their ideas into your thing and it's all coming together and it's like this big thing. It means so much to me. It's just like,
and it's core, just the pure vulnerability of it, because you have to learn to spitball ideas with people in a room that's like, it's not necessarily judge free, but you have to feel comfortable. Like, well, is this the thing? I don't know. Like you can say, you have to be able to say something stupid. Like you have to get over that hump of it's like creative stuff. So you have to throw out the bad ideas and just like see what hits.
Yeah.
And that's like, one of those things.
At the end, you have this like this crazy, beautiful thing that like you and other people made together. And it's just like, that feeling that you get from that, like a byproduct of it is just like, you're in a relationship with other people. And if something goes wrong, like someone's being shitty or someone shows up late or someone cancels on a thing, it's just like, fuck, it's not like, it's like, it's like maybe something bad happened to you. I don't know, but it's like, fuck, like I really want to get this fucking song done. I want to work on this thing. And I'm all like, it's like some sort of like I don't know the right way to put it, but you probably all know the feeling that I'm talking about.
I think
it's just like you invest so much into it that it becomes like you just become so tied in with the other people.
And if you do it right too, I think that process in itself is beneficial to the longevity of a band, because like if you're able to throw out your bad ideas to your bandmates and they reject it and you can just move past it and still come up with something, I think as a core you all build up like a tough skin to criticism on the outside. So then when you all finally put out the song that you all agreed on and someone doesn't like it doesn't like destroy you. It's like, well, we internally we market research this and this is the best we can do and we think it's pretty good.
All takes the blame, not any one person.
And just to the quicker I feel like you understand that like and I might have even said this the last time I talked to you, so I apologize if I repeat myself, but like the quicker you understand that what you're doing is not for everyone, the better off you are. Like it's okay for people to be kind of about what you do and people to actively hate what you do because someone's going to love it. But like if you go into anything like I'm making this song for the world, like you're an insane person.
Sure.
This also makes me think about how I feel like one of the things I learned a few years in was just like, don't apologize for yourself either. I see bands go up and kind of like be sheepish about their work or, you know, kind of be like, thanks for listening to us. I really appreciate it. And a part of me is like, you're telling people how to respond to your work, you know, and if this is how you feel about your work, or if you feel that some part of you has to apologize for your work, you're making the audience almost feel bad about liking your work.
Yeah. I mean,
you don't have to be a dick about it, but like you definitely don't have to go up there and just be like, I mean, I guess if you want to listen to, you should be excited about what you make. And so sometimes that's a result of not everybody has really gotten on board with the song. Yeah. But sometimes people really are on board. And I'm like, be excited about what you did. Because that's a lot of work.
There's a certain amount of ego that has been lost. And I think that was the death of rock and roll. Was when ego left rock and roll. And there's so much more ego and attitude in pop music now.
That's true.
And that's why I fully believe that's the main reason why that music is on the top now. I don't think people don't like guitars or guitar-driven music. It's just there's no fucking attitude in it. So people are like, "What is this?"
There's it's a lot of artifice.
Well, and it's human psychology to want to kind of be in the group, right?
Yeah.
You know? And so if you're not telling people like you should be fucking into this, then they're kind of like, do I trust myself? Is everybody else on board for this? You know, that sort of thing. And so, without having that, at least the persona of ego, even if you internally don't feel that way. But if you can't like project,
it doesn't have to be like a verbal ego.
No.
But it could just be a thing where like watching a band play on stage and they're having a good time and you could tell they're really into what they're doing. It's going to be like, oh shit.
Right.
Versus like, these people don't even look like they want to be here.
Show that you love what you do. Right. And that's funny because I feel like in our earliest days and continuing now, we were joking about all of us in our black and everything, but we pretty early on decided we're going to come to shows. It's not necessarily going to be a uniform, but we're not going to come to shows with the clothes that we've been wearing for the last 15 hours or whatever.
Sure.
Because we're here to play and we're so excited to be here. And this is not the rest of my day. This is not just how I'm going to finish my Thursday. This is a new and exciting thing. And I feel like that was an extension of this. I like what I do. I want this moment to be special for me. I want this moment to be special for you. What I love about performance, it's ephemeral. Like it's only happening right now and that's it. And so when people roll in and then that continue, I don't care what you look like, but when that continues in like your overall demeanor and everything else, a part of me is just sort of like, why did I come here? You know, like if you're not going to like, do that.
To be like blunt about it.
Yeah.
You are a salesperson on that stage. And now I'll say like, this is actually my first interview I've done like with this band and I'm a little nervous, you know, it's just the way it is. Nobody's doing anything wrong, but
we're watching him really closely. We're going to tell him everything that happened afterwards.
We're going to have an argument outside. Wait till you said this thing. But
don't talk about 9/11. Don't talk about
9/11. But we worked.
Thanks, Ben.
We've worked really. Henry Rollins had this thing. It's like, don't just work hard, but work smart. And in this band, I'd like to think that we work smart, work hard and work smart. But I know that when we go on the stage, I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, great drummer or anything. But when I'm on stage with this band, I know that nobody can do in the function of this band what I am doing. I've put the time into it. I own it. And I'm awfully good at it. And I will stand here. I'm not bragging. I'm not bragging. I'll say that. I think I'm awfully good at it. But the rest is up to the audience to judge. But knowing then if you took any one of us out, it wouldn't be the same.
Sure.
Yeah. So when we go on stage, you know, the sound is what the three of us do. And I have no shame in that. And it's what we're there to do. And it's one thing I feel really confident about every time.
We're selling that there's a very delicate chemistry between the three of us. And that's
because nobody plays guitar like you.
No.
Nobody plays bass and sings like you.
Yeah.
And in this band, nobody drums like me. So
That's what makes you special.
Yeah.
so yeah.
Well, this goes back to when you were talking, Ben, about like working with other people and how not having like people not liking ideas that are brought to the table, or not being able to connect with your band members. It's just like I had this thought in my head when you were talking about that, about why would you even want to be in a band with someone whose ideas you don't trust?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And like, because my day job, like I run sound, so all I do is work with bands.
Yeah, that was I was going to loop around to this.
Yeah, and I see that all the time. It's like seeing someone in a poor relationship. Or
sure.
Something. Like there really is parallels to it, where I can tell if I watch like a 5-piece band or whatever that the bass player is not really into this. They maybe don't, like, you can kind of see the dynamic. Like you can see the matrix of a band. Like I'm to the point I can watch a band like, oh, these three have chemistry and these two are just kind of fill-ins or either hangers on or whatever. And yeah, that's a very foreign thing to me. It's a weird, like, I feel like some bands just, you settle for someone that's not right. I think we're very fortunate that we've found like, and even then this was like, it was tiered where Moore and I found someone to work with that worked for 10 years. And then Joe had to play Queen songs with us for 6 months. And then we're like, hey, I think that guy can roll with us.
Well,
it's a good test. Anyone out there who really wants to put someone through the ringer and figure out, make them do Queen.
The very first time that you came over to my house because I'll drum for your Queen set.
Yeah.
And Ben came over to my house and Queen does this version of We'll Rock You that's actually like a punk version. And it's like, if everybody knows like the famous single, but he's like, okay, man, let's do this punk version of We'll Rock You. And we did it. And it's like, he's playing all like the details. Yeah. And I've listened to that song since I was a kid. All the details. All the details. Yeah. It was like, oh, like I feel that
was the thing I noticed immediately. It's like, oh no. Cause we've done, it was for Tribute Fest, which is a thing I used to book. Halloween sets in character, etc. Oftentimes you show up to which is also just like, it's the same thing of like figuring out how other musicians communicate with each other. It's very fascinating to me to walk into someone else's band or just with another musician, see how they understand these things.
Because most of the tribute sets, because we're a duo, we didn't do, well, all of them, we didn't do just the two of us.
Right. So we would always
be like, essentially we were the auxiliary members of someone else's band a lot of the time.
we did like a Portishead one, and there was like 7 people pulled from all different bands, and it was like a little chaotic.
But you're right, you get a kind of a glimpse into other people's like something dynamics.
Like usually like the process with that, when you walk in and everyone kind of knows the songs, kind of knows the parts, and so it's this like slow build to get up to that. And like I remember that first day with Joe, like we did that song, I'm like, oh no, he knows every single drum fill and stuff already, this is gonna be fine. Like because usually I'm used to because I'm just a weird, like very detail specific overachiever, Virgo, as Maura has told me, like that's just what it is. I'm just real detail oriented. Usually I'm the one that shows
all
up
the astrology memes.
Yeah. I'm usually the one that shows up over prepared for things,
and I'm usually the one who has to smooth it over with the rest of the band.
There's a good Labyrinth meme today that was all Labyrinth characters.
Oh, okay.
As them. One of them was
Zodiac signs.
As Zodiac signs, and one of them was Jareth's package, which is pretty funny. They're like cartoon drawings. I was like, that's pretty.
To be clear, we're not really super into memes, but I was in grad school the last few years, and astrology memes, for whatever reason, were like soothing at a certain point.
Okay.
So all right, like the chaos of the world has order again. I don't know, but like order and funny correlations with things like that.
This band, we also kind of meet on a plane of like Peter Gabriel and Kate Bush to a degree.
Yeah.
We're all fans of that in one way or the other. And you're pointing out that their astrological signs as artistic collaborators like line up perfectly.
They're yin and yang.
Yeah, yin and yang, perfect.
They're 6 months apart.
So when you hear like Kate Bush and Peter Gabriel do a thing, it's like, oh, that's why it's so good, So
yeah.
I was gonna say about like seeing bands play covers. If it's a song that I know, it's really easy for me to tell if the band actually knows the song or if they're just covering a song. Because it's always like, there's some weird little nuance with a drum fill or some weird little sound that I'll be like, they don't give a shit about this song.
Yeah, but if you get really into it, I have found the tribute sets pretty beneficial even to the rest of our music in the sense of you push yourself to do things that you don't normally do. And so if you take it seriously, if you try to figure out how to do all the weird little guitar tricks, or you try to figure out how to change your voice ever so slightly to match this growliness or whatever it is that's not what you normally do, I found that really helpful when we try to go back and do our own stuff. I don't think we've ever fully integrated any of the bands that we've covered, but I also think very fondly of our last one doing the Yeah Yeah Yeahs, because that was the first time that we did it with no other because we were 3 people instead of 2. It was the first time that we did it just as us. And I think I left this stage and I was like, we are a machine. Like, you know, I felt like so excited because I was like, everything is locked into place and we are just doing it. And I was wearing this ridiculous rainbow leotard fringe outfit in order to be Carrido. And I was running around and everything. And I was just sort of like, man, like this is the best, you know? And so that was also a good relationship builder too, in that you got to have this fun show, be out of character even for your musician character self, you know, and learn some new things. And I don't know, it was fun. Team building in a weird way.
Yeah. Going back to the beginning of the conversation, answering the question of why you still do this and answering it for you, it just seems like you've all been continuing to find ways to just grow and learn and just develop. Like you're still, it's not a thing where it's gotten like stale. Or I don't feel like any of you feel like you're probably like whatever. Like you're always, seems like you're consistently challenging yourselves with different little things and just becoming better at what you're doing as you age, like a fine wine or something, right?
Well, there's even 1 or 2 songs because we're making an album in the midst of releasing this single, and we're still working on a couple of new tracks, but we were kind of talking, it's like we're confident about them because we're not going to really have the opportunity to play them out live. They're just going to go on the record. And most times, you know, you play songs out live for a few months, regionally, locally, whatever, and you sort of hammer them out. And it's like, no, we're just going to like put these on the record and we stand behind them all the way even with that. And we're just going to put them out into the world that way.
Yeah.
And I don't think I haven't done that since like I had my first band in high school when you have a 4-track or something. So that's like, it feels good to do that, to feel confident.
Yeah.
In that.
To be clear, those songs are mixed in with some songs that we've been playing for 4 years now too. So, you know, it's not fully, you know, letting everything fly free, little bird. You know, some of these things have been very well tested.
We have a weird process. Yeah. Like it'll take us months to write a song. Like technically we're coming up on 5 years between the last LP and this one. We've done some other things in between.
Yeah, smaller
releases and stuff. But we'll take literally months to write a song, and then we start playing it out live pretty early on in its process, and then it sort of mutates, and then once we really feel it's locked in, that's when we record it. Which behind the scenes we have like 3 or 4 songs that are going on this record that we're still doing that and still like workshopping them, but we're just not doing it to the benefit of playing them out. We probably would play them out somewhere before we record them if we managed to book a show somewhere ahead of the recording. But
the single that's going to be out on the 29th is a song that was written in the midst of all of the other songs that are going to be on the full length that we all really love, but really in the very classic sense of a single just doesn't feel like it fully fits with everything else. And so we wanted it to have a formal recording and to have a place in our tracks listings and all those sorts of things, our discography, I guess. But it feels so formal. But it just didn't make sense to have it on what's coming out later. We're aiming for kind of late spring for the full length record. So it's getting there. It's one of those things. I feel whenever people ask, because we do the recording and mixing in-house, I feel like it's that much harder to say, oh yeah, it's almost done, because nothing is done. Nothing is ever done and until you've handed it. We do for this, we're going to have someone else master them. But like until they are in that person's hands, it never feels like it's actually ready to go. And so anytime people ask, I'm like, spring, sometimes spring.
Sure. Just say whatever, because the likelihood that they're going to remember anyway doesn't fucking matter. They're not going to remember.
You have in Grey Walker too, but we operate on essentially an infinite budget. That's really just the only limitations are the gear that we have.
Yeah.
And my patience for wanting to mix and record and re-record and whatever. Which is at this point is like, well, we're already 5 years in. So like if it takes another 6 months to do this and do it right, I would rather do it right than do it. I think this is the first record I think that we only scrapped one song. We scrapped Sledgehammer, like the original recording of it when but that was like really the beginning of it. But usually we've been pretty good about, like, we start the recording process and it's like we take our time so much with the production the whole way through that there's no second guessing it. It's just like, no, it's going to end up like this kind of thing. It's a pretty good plan.
Yeah, I usually now have a pretty good feeling if something's going to work out or not pretty early on in the process.
Yeah.
Like I've been trying to adopt this mentality, not even just with my music, but with anything in general. It's not that I'm not a hardworking person, but if I have to break my threshold to work on something, then it's probably not worth it. I feel like writing songs and things like that, not that it's easy, but if it doesn't just happen in a way that feels sort of natural and I'm not like racking my brain over a part,
right?
You know, if it's a thing where it's like becoming like a huge issue, like this just isn't going anywhere because it's not going to go anywhere.
Well, and part of what we did in coming up with just a lot of the ideas, because Ben will just have riffs. Like he's just always coming up with riffs and saving them, to our band Dropbox, and we'll check them out. But we did a couple. I won't get too specific. We went away to a house in the country for a couple of long weekends and went out where we could crank up the volume and not bother anybody. And for like 3 days straight, just workshop the riffs and ideas and start hammering them into shape as songs. And then when we come back from there, it's like, okay, we can pick each of these up now at our like practices going forward and turn them into songs. And we've probably come up with like 10 songs that way.
Yeah,
just over
that's the majority of the record.
Yeah, most of it is that way. And it is that sort of like dream, like you see like, documentaries of bands like in the studio, just like, in the residential like place doing that. And we did it. And it was a lot of work, but a lot of fun too. And I think the fun comes through the finished songs, like all the way to the end.
Well, I feel like that's a nice part about having a drummer, and you specifically as our drummer, is that I feel like when we were starting with sampled drums, it was almost as though we would usually have, just a stock drum beat, not stock, but just a simple drum beat to work with and then start to build. But it was almost, a lot of the songs started small, and then they'd start to develop what they were going to be and start to get a feeling, and then, and then it could do this and then it could do that. Whereas going this way almost feels like doing that broad stroke. This feels awesome. Like this feels like a good song. Like the groove is there. Everything feels comfortable. And then details are what we nitpick for the next 5 months, and that's what happens
before
afterwards.
we were sculpting little miniatures. Now we're just like full on drunk Jackson Pollock.
Paint at the wall. And then turning that into actual realism, landscapes or what have you.
One thing I learned from Ben too is that I write riffs on the drums, and we've talked about this. It's like each song has a unique riff on the drums that is specific, rudiments and beats, of course. But we also have talked about, like, for me and the drums, for a lot of our songs end up, I looked at like a side-scrolling platform video game that when they're done, it's like, I've got to like beat the level and like take each jump a specific way, hit this box, get the flower, all that. And it's like, I've played the song well if I get through the level, complete it without like dying, basically. So
they're not loops. It's all linear.
Yeah, it is very linear. Linear drum riffs. So
there's something that's really like, that just feels kind of cold about playing with electronic drums live. Because I mean, I've been doing it with Sykes and a New Violence for a couple years now. We do have a live drummer now. We've got a live drummer again. we won't be playing any shows with him for a while until he's basically doing all the new material. He's learning all the new songs. But like, just like even over the past few practices that we've had with him, just like how much extra life the songs have, and just like, we can actually have real dynamics now.
Right.
Instead of like, you know, a PA getting louder and quieter. There's actually like feeling.
Right.
It's like completely different.
Definitely. Although I do joke that having had a robot drummer for 10 years as a bass player, our old songs, I know the moment that we are not doing something that we're supposed to be doing as a rhythm section. I might not be quite as on it with our newer things, but I know when we were learning all the old things, I was like, oh, I'm real sorry, but it's a metronome in my
Joe
body
for
now.
Sure walked into a landmine. It's like, nope, this is you're 2 BPM off on this.
Yeah, you get really used to that stuff. Yeah.
Well, especially because it's unforgiving. I mean, you have to come, if you miss something, you just have to wait and come back, you know, as you know. But it's so much nicer.
Even some of the old songs, we kept some of the tracks that I would play to, and I never played the tracks before, so you get a real lesson in how to be a human metronome, which is good. I mean, that's like, it's all good stuff, you know. So
and then the other side is we're always just doing something that's slightly more difficult than we're comfortable with. So in the same thing is like, we have all these songs that are real locked in this tempo, and then there's like 2 or 3 songs of this new record that have these full-on either free time sections or purposely drag and rush in sections, and that's just the feel of it. Like, it works that way. And that's how the song's written. And so it's a whole other thing. Like, you can't play to a click track, but you also there's still parameters in that. We have a song. It's still just a working title, Death Rock, right now, but there's a section in the middle of it that takes another part of the song that was in time, and then it just like chops it up into this weird free time thing that we all just know what the pauses are.
You could do it,
yeah.
But like,
which actually is the thing we picked up from Queen from doing Bicycle Race. That dun 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 dun. It's that weird, like, it's not in time. It's just like, nope. It's just everyone plays this rhythm generally in this time.
Yeah, it's like, that does happen. We've had several circumstances with Grey Walker songs where the grooves change in like very nuanced ways, but it's noticeable if you're trying to track to a click. It's like, fuck, this is off. Like, you know, this part is like, you know, 4 BPM slower and has a more aggressive like swing on it than the rest of the track, and like trying to like, you know, map that out, you know, to the click so we could still like record it to a click is always like a little tricky, but we figure it out.
Yeah. It's the process. But I do think part of the growing is we're all inclined to that. We're all curious people, but I think we also push each other to do that for sure. So that is, even if we're all different personality types, I guess that is something we share, is that we all want to grow.
Yeah. If you
don't want to be comfortable, I guess.
Well, if you can't do something, all you got to do is use your Google device and you can learn how to do anything in 20 minutes, or at least get a video on it and then like, you know, get an idea.
Right.
I just got gifted this crazy haze machine. And like, it's just like, it's full of dust and like, it's a mess. And like, I was like watching videos on how to like take it apart and clean it properly and stuff today.
Right. Oh yeah. YouTube saves the day.
Yeah. I just like last night watched a video, some guy recorded with Steve Albini and recorded drums and just filmed every step of the process. And I know Steve Albini's process and stuff too, but just to watch something again where he breaks down his signal chain and everything is still really, and still stuff I hadn't thought of, that there's always some little nugget in there. That other dude, Rick Beato too. I watch his videos like crazy. I don't know if you know his.
No, I don't know him.
The Everything Music. He does those "What Makes This Song Cool" videos. If you haven't seen any of those, those are crazy because he's like a music teacher and has like really proper theory. So he like I just sent Joe one of the videos. He broke down a couple of Nirvana songs. He's like, here's why Kurt Cobain, what he's doing is actually really complex. Like the melody is way more complex than what's happening than you would think. Like it's not common, and like it's really interesting to just see that perspective on things.
It's like, you know, songs like songwriters like Kurt Cobain and that style of music and other genres of music that could on the surface seem simple, but it's not as simple. It's like, you know, getting like, you know, a plate of like homemade spaghetti and like Eaton Park spaghetti.
Right.
You know, like it seems like simple things, but
Right.
it's all the nuances in the sauce, baby. Like you don't know what went in that sauce.
Sure. Oh, totally.
It all seems like, you know, but a lot of people, some people aren't going to taste the difference between the two.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Well, when growing up it's funny, you talked earlier about being like 80s, 90s kids, and I came of age kind of right at the point when like Nirvana ended, and then you had all these bands that came out in the wake of that were just kind of like rehashing Nirvana immediately. And for me, that was a real lesson. Like they're just like very clearly ripping off Nirvana. I'm not going to mention names because, you know, might be fans of the bands.
They're all listening, yeah.
Yes, but for me,
Puddle of Mud. Bush.
Exactly. Bush.
that was also a wild spectrum.
Yeah.
But anyway.
but there's like that kind of post-grunge
Yeah.
wave that happened, and I was like 14, 15 years old and sort of like learning about punk rock, and I immediately became this like cynical, like they don't have what Nirvana had and they want everybody to think that they do, but you can't replicate that. And that always stuck with me. That was actually very formative, like maybe somewhat healthy, like kind of seeing that like as it was playing out in real time. And that's something I'm very conscious of. Like you can't just go replicate, you've got to do your own thing, and you can pull from your influences, but you can't be a pale imitation, like you say, homemade versus the Eaton Park spaghetti.
Yeah.
Same thing.
It's really hard. I've like battled myself for a long time when it comes to one influences too much and, you know, giving other people shit about it, because like, you know, there could be people that genuinely from the bottom of their unoriginal lazy hearts just want to be the next Bush.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That band exists.
Yes.
Right.
And I fuck with your energy. That's fine. Like if you're into it, that's cool.
You know, the other thing I've come across, like, well, we've experienced it a lot on tour, and then I have it with occasional running sound with bands or whatever, is you also sometimes run into these bands, the kids that are super young that somehow arrive at this insane sound, and you're like, you sound like the Jesus Lizard. Like, how do you?
Oh,
and
yeah.
they're like, who's that? And they just arrived
And
at
immediately pull out their phones and go to YouTube.
Yeah, and then they arrived at it. They arrived at it like organically. I'm like, that's crazy. And it's like, you know, like a band. Like there's a band from who aren't around anymore. They moved it to Portland, but Flesh Pets from Dayton. Mm-hmm. These kids are like it was Brendan and then his little brother who was like super young, and I don't know.
They were like 16.
I don't know how he got into, I don't know how he got his brother into Blind Bob's, but but they were just really aggressive, noisy stuff, and then like their frame of reference was not anything I would have expected, but they were like hitting these posts, and it's really interesting.
Yeah.
And I had the same thing with in Pittsburgh. I had this band Chillin', which on paper sounds crazy, but it's Orthodox Jews playing a sort of funk-oriented blues music, but also kind of plays like some Jewish standards and stuff. And the lead section is a like dirty Delta blues harmonica and a saxophone.
That
and
sounds
they are
incredible.
They are so good. Like, and they're great dudes. But like, I saw the sax player and the harmonica player, and I was like, oh, do you guys know like any Mark Sandman stuff? They're like, no, who? I was like, dude, fucking Morphine and Treater Wright. Literally Mark Sandman bands that are fronted by a saxophone and a harmonica, and like it got them so into it. And so the next time I ran sound for them, they were like, dude. I was like, yeah, I know. But yeah.
I also feel like now you should sell merch or have pins that are just homemade spaghetti.
Yeah.
Like you are homemade
or just put
spaghetti.
or put in a diss track.
Yeah.
I'm homemade spaghetti. You're eating park trash.
Yeah.
I
feel like what I said was
I just see it. Like I just see like the hoodies now. Homemade spaghetti.
Being a white rapper, the word spaghetti can never come out of my mouth.
You are correct.
Why? What happened?
Just literally can't. It's
And I also now hear a bunch of 16-year-olds pulling out their phones and being like, why can't he say spaghetti? Anyway.
With now you got an album that's going to be coming out maybe in the spring, probably in the winter.
Hold us to it, everyone. Hold us to it. Come up to me. Ask when it's coming.
Outside of music, though? You know, I know you run sound. You just finished grad school. You have your job. Is there any other creative things that we do outside of music? You had mentioned you do a lot of visual stuff, Maura, for the band.
For us. And I'm learning how to do more things. We're getting more into like the video side of things. And also, speaking of, I forget what we were talking about related to just the technology that exists out there, but I was learning more Photoshop things and realizing that an app I have on my phone that I got for free does all of these like very basic Photoshop things that I did not even realize that they were the same, you know. And I was like, technology is amazing. I've been doing all of these things but with 2 fingers rather than 5 clicks on a computer and all that stuff. So I don't know. I'm still a newbie at it, but I'm enjoying it a lot. And I work on our like stage stuff and merch stuff. I mean, a lot of it's collaborative. It's just I'll be the one who starts something, and then we all come together to finish it or refine it, and you know, things like that.
What about outside of Action Camp?
Outside of Action Camp, art wise,
or anything creative?
Well, I got out of grad school and I have my first real job, and my dad likes to say, I won't go into like what my job is just in case, I don't know, but I don't know the rules about
it's whatever you want to talk about. It's up to you.
Well, I was going to say
the only rule is there is no rules.
Right. Well, the joke is that I am an ideas woman for my job, really. I do policy type work, but it's a lot of like creative problem solving. And it goes back to this whole, you know, talking communication, how to make things into a language that other people will understand from inside of my brain, externalized to another person. I do work in public health and social work fields. And so it's trying to take really unapproachable health related things and make them into product that people will actually understand what they're getting or why they should care, or trying to explain that to politicians. And that would be other field of people. So I know it's not a conventional creative answer, but I really like that side of my job where it's like health communications, figuring out how to present something in a way that's...
Yeah, you can't be a problem solver without tapping into your creativity pool.
Right. Yeah. So
totally.
It's exciting to have a job like that, because I've definitely also had all kinds of random ass jobs prior to going back to school, from Home Depot to barista to doula to all sorts of stuff. And so I don't know. Now I have to wear nice clothes and go into an office and do research. So, you know, it's cool.
What about you, Joe? Any creativity outside of Action Camp going on these days?
Well, for January, I did the Fun-A-Day thing, which I don't know, explain what that is. It's art project where you sign up and you work on something every day for the month of January. And I've done it before. I've done this project before where I would try to write a song a day, which in years past, I would try to like write a whole song a day, which is really, really prohibitively difficult and really can have the opposite effect of making you feel good, make you feel bad.
I don't know.
My time's up. My time is up. No,
what the fuck that is?
Are we being kicked out?
No, I don't know what that is.
But
oh,
someone's ringing your bell.
Someone knocked on the door.
Someone's knocking at the door.
Yeah.
What about this?
Let him in.
Yeah.
What? Hi. Oh, okay. Yeah, sure. Not a problem. Thank you. You got it.
Live radio.
What?
That hand delivered.
Hand delivered, already opened
mail.
piece of mail.
Arkham Realty. That's fine. Okay. Anyways, sorry about that. So yeah, trying to write a song every day.
I did it before, and I came up with some ideas. A couple of which have actually since ended up in Action Camp. One of them is on the new record from years ago that I brought. But this past month, I did it again, except instead of saying I'll do a song a day, I'll do a piece of music a day, and I'll record it either on my 4-track or on my phone or something. And for Christmas, I got a ukulele, so that was like part of it. And I only started playing ukulele with Action Camp because I had to play it at the Death Dish show. So one more thing, the band has kind of taught me. And I stuck to it though. This last month, I wrote a piece of music every day, even when I had, the cold, I was sick, I still did it. And it just was really good. It felt like a really positive, healthy exercise. Because this is a very dreary town this time of year. And it's very easy to sort of like spiral out when it's raining or snowing and it's just no sun. So even like every night, before I go to bed, even if it was late, I would just take the guitar, or the ukulele, or I'd go downstairs. I have an organ downstairs, and I would just 90 seconds of something. And the thing is, like after about 10 days, I started to come up with things like, I feel like this is actually good. And some of it may go to Action Camp. Some of it I might do something with later on. But that's been a really positive experience. And in fact, the Fun a Day exhibit, they're having it in Wilkinsburg the same weekend as our Skillshare event. And I won't be there for that. I mean, I'll be there for a Skillshare event, of course. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to take all of like 31 of those songs. I'm going to dub them onto cassette and just leave a stack of cassettes there for people to take if they want as a keepsake, or if they actually play cassettes. Because that also keeps it from like ruining it, like putting it on Bandcamp. It's there forever, so that's kind of my latest extracurricular musical non-Action Camp activity. So
well, I think the last when I was previously on the podcast, I told you I did like the Scarehouse stuff, right?
Yeah.
So now the most recent thing is Scarehouse. We got a space in the Strip on like Penn Ave next to the AT&T store, and they kind of moved. There was some delays from the Halloween stuff, but they moved the basement over there, which is the full contact, you need a safe word thing. So I did that. And then there's 2 escape rooms, and I did audio for those. And there's one that I just kind of wrapped the other day called Database. I think the info's out there for it already, hopefully. But it's this, it basically involved me. There's like an AI that talks to you, and I had to record like hundreds of lines of dialogue with an actor, and it's all like scene specific to like when you do something, the computer's constantly
okay.
So I like just essentially built an AI with someone for this like escape room thing. So that was like the most recent thing I did.
That's fun.
And then I have some soundtrack stuff I'm doing in a little bit on our friend Joe Stammerjohn has another film who did our You Know My Name video years ago, and some other and shot the Rearranged show as well with us. So our old videographer,
in-house
videographer.
No,
but yeah, but he sends work to me occasionally. So yeah,
cool.
We got that going on too.
So we were talking about this one thing before we had started recording. And as we're wrapping up the conversation, closing things out, I feel like it may be ill-minded of us to not bring up the closing of something in Pittsburgh that is happening. A venue that I know is reasonably, you're familiar with Howlers. You've probably played there 1 or 100 times, I imagine.
Yes.
I was trying to find our show list. I think we might have cracked 100. Like no joke. Not
at Howlers?
At Howlers.
Oh wow.
Like because we're about 600 shows in.
Oh geez.
Yeah. Right.
He's the historian.
Yeah.
We did it. Well, Howlers was the first venue we ever played in Pittsburgh, I believe, because we started in Boston and came to Pittsburgh. I'm from Pittsburgh originally, and so we came, to see my family or just get away, and we played at Howlers. And then once we moved, Howlers was definitely the main spot that we played for a long time, and I guess we've gotten to witness its evolution in a sense. I mean, it existed as a music venue prior to us, but again, that's 14 years ago now that we were playing there. So around thereabouts.
And when I moved here in, what was it? October 2010, something like that.
It's before that.
2009.
Yeah.
That was my first job when I came here too. So I ran sound there because I already knew Mary Jo from from us playing shows there and just asked on a whim. And they, at that point, they hadn't really had a sound guy, or they sort of did. They just had people that sort of knew how to run sound. So I was like the first real sound guy that they had, and did that for like 5 years. And I eventually I was recording every single set for like that amount of time, literally every single set. So I have this archive of like 1,500 something sets from like 2009 to 2012 or something like that.
Yeah.
That I'm sure I'm going to get asked about a bunch now, even though, even though like 6 months ago, I like pulled those DVDs out and like posted that list. I was like, hey, if you're in any of these bands and want these, let me know. Cause like, I don't like, I'm not going to put it all in our Dropbox or whatever. Cause it's like, cause it is like 8 DVDs worth of MP3 files or whatever. But yeah.
First ever Tribute Fest.
First ever Tribute Fest
show was there.
Yeah.
Well, and
I broke up a fight between Manny and a dude there, and I got to.
I feel like there's so many stories that center there.
It was
too.
like it was like the most aggressive I think I've ever been. Where it was a 2-man gentleman band show. This is like my fond memories of it.
What a weird combo.
I know
of items.
The 2-man gentleman band. I don't know if you know them. They're pretty fantastic. Kind of ragtimey, old timey, but like very very blue humor as well. And so I had known those guys, and so that particular night, I wore a 3-piece suit as well as they do, just because it was fun. Like people dress up for their shows, and then some guy did something with Manny, and Manny spit in his face, and then the guy proceeded to punch Manny, and it was on the little drop off between the 2 rooms. So the guy was standing there, and I was like right behind him, and I grabbed the guy around the neck and like lifted him up. It was like it felt very James Bondy that I was like in a 3-piece suit and like jacking this dude up.
Hell yeah, man.
So
on a happier note, that is where you asked me to join the band. It was at Hollers.
Was it really?
Yeah.
Oh. You proposed to Joe
yeah, you did.
Oh.
Because I was saying to you, I was like, well, if you ever, because we'd done the Queen thing, I was like, well, if you ever want a drummer for some things,
yeah,
and you're like, actually,
yeah,
would you like to be in the band?
Which, by the way, is the right way to approach a duo about joining them, rather than being like, you know, what would be great is if you had drums. When it's more if you ever want drums for something, that is the way to ask. Because we've had plenty of people be like, I really liked you. I'd like you even more with drums.
Yeah. Or I liked you guys. I'd like you guys if I was your drummer.
Yeah,
it's
pretty much. I'd like you even more. Yeah. So no, that's the way to do it. Just for anyone who's curious.
Yeah.
I definitely remember we were sitting at the bar, and I was just like, if you ever want a drummer, actually, it's like, oh, sure. I'm in 5 bands now. Why not? You know, so and I whittled down.
And then they all whittled away
to 1.
Which is also how you ended up in St. Dude. Or I think St. Dude, because Josh had left and I moved to guitar, and we wanted to do one show. And I was like, hey, can you learn these like couple of songs?
I was like, all right.
Or whatever. And you're like, fine, I'm already in like 5 bands. Learned it. And then we were done. And you're like, man, this is so much fun. Like, I wish I could be in this band. And we're like, just be in the band. It was literally like no one is stopping you.
I'm also curious about where, I'm sure it's unique to everyone, but like, where is the tipping point of, I'm already in 2 bands. I don't know if I should do something. I'm already in 5 bands. So like, fuck it. Like, let's do whatever. You're like, where is this line?
I was like working a job where I had like horrible hours, and I was in another band at the time, and I would like, and you would be running sound. You know this. I'd have to leave right after the show and go to work at 3 a.m.
Yeah.
And once I got a job that was like a regular 9 to 5 working from home, it was like, oh, I'll be in like 10 bands. It'll be great. And it wasn't great after not very long. So I'm just down to, I'll say 1.5, because the other band's just kind of like whenever we feel like it. But
St. Dude knows its place that as secondary to Action Camp, or just everyone in St. Dude, everyone's schedule. It's like, hey, if we're all free, like it's a lot of text like
just
that.
Hanging out.
It's really just hanging out.
Yeah. So, yeah, I miss Hollers. It was a good place. That's where we started with it.
Yeah. I'm a little too like inside baseball with it to like truly miss it, but it was a valuable thing. And it's not like it's like completely going away, but like if Mary Jo is actually retiring, like Mary Jo was a very like vital lifeline in the music scene, or is a vital lifeline in the music scene. So
well, and I I think one thing that I wish that there was more of that Howlers very much cultivated was bands of every level of experience had the opportunity to be there, and every level of experience, every level of resources, because you had flexibility about the door, you had flexibility about they're not asking you for $200 right off the bat just to be there, and it's a welcoming space where people aren't pushing you. There's not someone at the door like you have 5 minutes to do XYZ. And there are plenty of venues that probably fall into that category that I still like and enjoy, but you need sort of that balance in order to really allow bands to grow. And I don't think that a band properly grows until they get to play out, until they get to make mistakes and not have that be what torpedoes them from there on out. Because we've talked about how it's a fragile dynamic, especially in the earliest of days, and playing a really terrible show and then having the venue itself be terrible or want money from you that you don't have, or whatever, things that can happen, again, that aren't universal, but can happen, that Howlers just did not do. Howlers was much more of a just generally supportive atmosphere for things, I think has really helped a lot of bands to find their footing. And I don't know. So that's something that I can't think of a lot of venues that provide kind of that overall feeling for people. And it's desperately needed.
The thing that I like about Howlers, and I'm going to use aggressive terminology, but I mean it in the best way.
Sure.
Howlers was like the shithole bar venue that you play in the middle of nowhere on tour that's awesome.
Right.
But in the middle of the city instead of being in the middle of nowhere.
Oh, yeah. 100%.
Like
100%.
Like there's a lot of places that we've played where like I think of like there's a place outside of Buffalo called the Rock in Buffalo, and it reminds me a lot of Howlers. But there's nothing around the Rock in Buffalo. It's just like
Sure.
off the interstate, and then there's like like I don't know, like some like furniture thing, and then like some weird restaurant that nobody goes. Then that's it. It's not like in the middle of like the main city, like how Howlers was.
Now I'm blanking on the name of it, but that place up in Wausau, Wisconsin that we played too.
Oh, I don't know. But yeah.
But super random bar in like midway between Chicago and Milwaukee, like kind of middle of nowhere in Wisconsin. And we showed up and loaded in, and like tiny back room, very much like Howlers and whatever. And like no one's there. And then like 10 o'clock, literally like 300 people show up and fill the place, because it was like everyone's like local bar. Like what happened? And it was like, and like one of the bands who our buddy Jason, who we're now like friends with, like his band showed up and he's like, "Hey, I made these sandwiches at home. If you guys want," like brought sandwiches. And we stayed at his house.
Which is also a classic Howlers thing. I can't count the number of shows I've gone to where people are like, "I just brought food. You want food?"
Yeah.
Like,
Mary Jo bakes your birthday cake.
Right. Mary Jo will do that. And then I've hosted things where I think for your birthday, I made finger sandwiches for no real reason other than just to have sandwiches. Probably some part of my brain remembered Wisconsin. I was like, that was really cool. Let's have sandwiches. But like that's also nice. That's something about, I feel like that's a classic Pittsburgh bar thing. Like when I was in college, I would bring a boyfriend home for winter break or what have you, and we'd go to a random bar and they just have halushki in the corner in someone's random crock pot and like all these, or whatever other random things there. And they would just be like, "Where are we? What is that?" And I was like, "Oh, that." I guess that doesn't happen in Boston so much, that, and the fact that drinks are like $3 are mind blowing for people who aren't from this area. And of course, all of that changes, but that's another layer for sure of Howlers as well, was like you could make it kind of your clubhouse, could make it an island in the middle of the city, like
it had like a small town feel in the city.
Yeah, maintained that.
Yeah.
The one thing though, like, because I found out like on Saturday, and of course, like a lot of people said the same thing. I feel like it kicked in the gut when they heard the news, because Howlers has always been, you don't want to take something for granted. But I thought back, and I posted this on the internet, so if anybody's like, "You told that story, Joe, shut up." But Alice Bagg played at Howlers for Lady Fest a few years back, and she's a legend, a Los Angeles punk rock legend. come all the way from LA to play at Howlers, which that was awesome. And she played a great set, played like so much stuff of her new record, played some like the old like bag stuff from like the 70s and 80s. And she was at the merch table, and I was just like, oh, you know, thanks for coming here to play Pittsburgh. Thanks for playing Howlers. You know, this is like our home base for so many of us. It's like, you know, a lot of band folks are here tonight, and this is like one of the places we can always play. And she was like so nice. And she said, that's great, but always remember, it's not the place, it's the people. And I was like, well, yeah, that's true, because, you know, there's a lot of like legendary LA venues like the Mask or whatever. They were just there for months. And she was in that LA punk scene that would like move from venue to venue, the Whiskey, wherever they could play. But now I'm like thinking like, well, like Alice Bag was saying, you know, it's not the place, it's the people. And at this point, it's up to everybody, not to be too like on a soapbox here, but it's up to everybody from the bands to like the patrons and the music fans, audience, to not take the venues that we have for granted, and to like, you know, if you're on the fence about going to that show, go to that show. And if you're in the mood to be hospitable and take cookies to a show, do that. Because you can do that just about any other venue, I think.
Most places.
So it's like kind of take what is at Howlers and just kind of keep doing it in other places, even though we are losing a valuable space, a valuable stage, where it is in its location. But there's no reason that the sort of spirit of it has to stop if anybody, you know, knows what it was like. And I think that's what she was talking about. And I really felt terrible when I heard, so I remembered that, and it was like sort of a comfort to remember, you know, hearing that from somebody who'd really played all kinds of places. So
yeah, totally.
That's kind of where I'm leaving it.
Yeah.
So
yeah, no, I think that's a great way. So it's a great thought to have about that. And it's a great way to end this conversation, my friends. So before we wrap things up, who wants to take the fun millennial approach on letting people know where they can find you on social media? Let people know what your TikToks, your Snapchats.
Oh,
do the whole event. That's what I was low key opening up the info for the event if you need to remember the list.
And now you're telling everyone what you did on the low key. Interesting. Okay. Well, you can find us on the interwebs, on the social medias, on Facebook, just Action Camp PGH, I believe.
Yeah, or just Action. We have pretty solid SEO if you search Action Camp. There's like stuff that's way more valuable Action Camps,
it's basically,
we've shoved them down on Google results. Like
it's basically us and then a whole bunch of adventure camps.
Yeah,
like, you know, learning how to do dirt biking and also they seem religious percentage of the time, and in the Philippines a percentage of the time for some reason. But look for the music Action Camp, and that will be us. We are also on Instagram, Action Camp, one word. And then the event on the 29th, which Ben has handed to me. We're going to have Allison and Trevor are going to be talking about being ready for media coverage. We have Jamie coming out to talking about lighting and tech. Kaivos with MIDI and electronic instrumentation. Sykes over here, podcasting and promotion. Yeah. Weird Paul to talk about social media. And again, we need you to come, because it's not just about those of us that have some level of expertise, but it's also about sharing all varieties of experiences so that we can all learn from each other. And we'll have food and we'll chill out, and it'll be this nice casual atmosphere that we've all been happy about. So that'll be, and it's free in the afternoon, 1 to 5 on the 29th at the Smiling Moose. And you can find the event on Facebook.
You can find parking. You can leave us outside before drunk people show up.
Yeah.
We thought of everything.
We did think about it. And yeah, come ready to talk about your band, because we want to hear about it.
And if you want to have, I'm having a workshop on how to get drunk afterwards. If you want to hang out with me downstairs,
I'm looking for. I'm going to support you only because I've recently listened. I got caught up on some of your episodes here. I'll help you with some like gotcha journalism to get Weird Paul on your podcast.
Oh yeah.
We got him in a room. We're like,
well, it's funny because I think I had told you whenever I saw the event, every single other person has been on the show.
Yeah.
Besides Weird Paul, but I've talked to Weird Paul through Messenger and have been trying to. I was trying to set it up for a while, and communicating with him was just a little difficult. I just don't think he was like super into it at the time, but things could be different.
I will say, I think you wouldn't be able to get Manny and Sean Cho together, which is I think what you referred to in Fuck Yeah Dinosaurs.
Yeah. Well, those are the three
you were
people
that said no, but I will say you on this. I bet you could get Manny and Weird Paul together. Because they are friends.
Oh, yeah.
And that's a solid, their dynamic, because they were a band for a long time. That's a solid dynamic you should look into.
Yeah, no, I would just want Weird Paul on the show. At this point, I don't want Manny on the show. Nothing against Manny. Like it's like he's not watching this, but if he was, he knows that I've done him several solids with the podcast. But outside of that, it doesn't matter. If you don't want to be here, I don't want you to be here. So,
So,
but Sean Cho, I am going to get one day. I'm going to strangle that motherfucker and get him in here. I would love to get Weird Paul on the show. So I'm gonna talk to him at the event. That's the plan. Be like, hey, I do this podcast.
I think if you talk to him in person, he'll like we hang out with him once in a while, and he's if you talk to him in person, he'll He's a little guarded, but I think he's friendly.
I like that all of this is for everyone to hear.
I know.
Anyway.
Cut it out.
Hey, what's the name of our new single? We didn't say that yet.
Oh, the name of our new single is Dissonance. I'm excited about it. It actually we'll talk about this at the Skillshare, but it actually covers a lot of things we talked about today in terms of, kind of the need for communication, the need for, making things fresh for yourself, really. That's a lot of what Dissonance is about. So, but you'll hear it on the 29th. We'll talk about it.
Sounds good.
And you'll listen to it over and over again.
I think it's...
Yes, because it's great.
Hell yeah. And that is all, folks. Thanks so much for listening. One more time. Bang, Mara, Joe, Action Camp. Whoop, whoop. Thanks for being here. I'll be back again in a couple days with another episode. Same time, same place, same channel. You know the drill. My name is Sykes. Start the beat 2020. Whoop, whoop. Thanks for listening, and we are done.
Hit me with the horn. Give me the horn.
I don't have a horn.
You did it before. The
Price is Right.
The Price is Right horn.
Oh.
My favorite drop of all time.
Wait, why does this fucking touchscreen work?
Oh no.
Huh. That's interesting. Oh, I bet you I know what it is.
It doesn't let you do it.
It doesn't let you do it when a sound's playing.
Oh.
Perfect opportunity. And we're done.
We'll do the TV freeze.